10 ways John Cena has ruined pro wrestling in WWE. Number 10. The same promos. The idea of a heel John Cena cutting a promo was a fascinating idea following the initial heel turn. Cena hadn't cut a heel promo since 2003, and with Cena gradually becoming one of the best talkers of all time, fans hoped that Cena would deliver some of his finest work in the promo department. Whilst elements of Cena's early promos were strong, soon enough the material became extremely repetitive, and when he began putting on a cartoonish voice, fans quickly lost interest. One of the key issues with Cena's promo work is that the motivation for the heel turn still makes zero sense. Cena sided with The Rock, then decided to awkwardly never mention him in any capacity again. Cena has bad blood with the fans, but this bad blood is from over a decade ago, and not a single babyface on the show has counteracted Cena's motivations for turning heel with any logic. This is of course because the heel turn completely falls apart the moment a Randy Orton or Cody Rhodes calls this out, but even still, the promo material should have been a lot more convincing. Number 9. The bland graphics. One of the things John Cena promised during one of his first heel promos was no new theme song and no new attire, which was incredibly disappointing. One of the things Cena debuted was a brand new Titantron. Sadly, this Titantron is the blandest thing imaginable. It's simply a black Titantron with Cena's name in white letters. It's so confusing as to why Cena allowed WWE to change this graphic, but he's still using the same theme song and still dressing the exact same. If Cena really wanted to go all in on ruining wrestling, then surely it would have made sense to come out with either no music or music that fans absolutely loathed. It's just laziness on WWE's part, as integral parts of Cena's heel presentation could have been executed so well, but it's just so underwhelming. Number 8. Mixed messages. The fans collectively wondered how John Cena's merchandise would operate when he was a heel. Sometimes when wrestlers turn heel, they have no merchandise at all. In fact, in 2008, when Chris Jericho took on the position as a top heel in WWE, he outright insisted that he didn't want any merchandise being sold. Jericho's rationale was that he didn't want fans supporting him in any way. But this isn't the case with Cena. Cena comes out in every city with new merchandise, and other than looking utterly miserable visually, Cena looks exactly the same. Cena's merchandise would have been designed in advance, which definitely supports the reports that Cena's heel turn was decided at the last minute. From WWE's side, Cena's final year in the company is a financial goldmine, so to fail to produce classic Cena shirts for every distinct city would have been a missed opportunity. For this heel turn to work and for it to be considered one of the most memorable heel turns in WWE history, both WWE and Cena had to commit all the way. However, that just hasn't occurred. Number 7. The same thing over and over. There were rumors that Randy Orton would end up being John Cena's final opponent. However, due to Backlash 2025 being in St. Louis, WWE decided to book the final showdown between the two to headline the PLE. Due to the lore and continuity between the two men, there was a huge opportunity to settle the feud with intense promo exchanges, yet WWE didn't remotely bother. Cena's heel promos were the same one-note tone they'd been since March, and all of the segments between the two saw Cena get laid out by an RKO again and again and again and again. Fans called out these segments for being generic and repetitive, and some would even say that WWE became creatively bankrupt. Cena as a heel should be an exciting concept. However, within a matter of weeks, it was almost as if WWE had just run out of ideas. How was this even possible? Well, one of the other issues with Cena's creative is that he's not a full-time talent. While Cena is making a number of dates and working the majority of PLEs, he's not on all episodes of television. This was seen with the build to Saturday Night's main event, as R-Truth had to build up his match with Cena by himself. This was a difficult task, and it's almost as if WWE creative struggled with how to book Cena in a meaningful way, because it's not a consistent character on the weekly shows. Number 6. Who is the face at WWE? WWE decided to put the title on John Cena as a heel was a very risky move. The reason this was risky was that they had Cody Rhodes as a champion and the face of the company, and the product was truly thriving. Rhodes was a full-time talent and he was everywhere for WWE. He was a poster boy for the brand, and there's no denying the American Nightmare's drawing power. Following WrestleMania 41, Rhodes would take a leave of absence from WWE, and this left WWE in a state of limbo. They had no top babyface to carry the product, and whilst names such as Randy Orton and CM Punk were present on television, WWE were crucially missing the captain of the show, and the product suffered as a result. Rhodes taking a leave of absence could have worked if he dropped the title to Cena, and Cena was still a babyface, but with Cena being a heel and Cena making sporadic appearances, it just hasn't worked. SmackDown has greatly suffered from this. WWE should have had the foresight to realize that a 3-hour product needs a central character, and with Rhodes absent up until Saturday night's main event, the SmackDown product has been a monotonous broadcast every single week. Number 5. Fiend. Travis Scott was a critical part of the John Cena heel turn. Scott would assist Cena in beating down Cody Rhodes at Elimination Chamber. However, in the weeks that followed, Scott wouldn't be mentioned on TV. Fast forward to WrestleMania 41, and in possibly the worst interference spot of all time, WWE and Cena would act like Scott was the greatest pro wrestler on the earth, as Scott would be presented as the difference maker in the main event. Cena would even have a smile on his face as Scott appeared, as if he was the gifted pro wrestler that he needed. Where the hell has this relationship come from, and why is WWE presenting Scott to be such a big deal? This is another factor in current WWE and Cena's heel turn that is vastly underdeveloped. Cena has now sided with Logan Paul on television, and this version of Cena being friends with celebrities could make sense if they played into Cena's Hollywood career, but they just haven't even bothered. WCW liked to use celebrities with Hulk Hogan during the peak of the NWO, but most of the time it was actively explained to the audience what was going on. WWE just doesn't care. As long as they create a buzz and receive social media impressions, that's all that's going to matter to them. Number 4. The Pat McAfee appearance. Following WrestleMania 41, a new WWE champion John Cena would appear on the Pat McAfee show, and while Cena was totally in character, it was a completely different version of Cena. Cena had intensity, and the cartoonish elements of his heel persona that fans had seen on TV had just gone. Cena was speaking like a real human being for the first time since turning heel, and he came across extremely natural and confident. Cena would spin the narrative that he was taking what he deserved when he retired, that being the WWE title, but due to Cena explaining this without the cartoonish style, it managed to connect and actually make sense. This appearance received rave reviews from fans, and it was in essence a hybrid of a heel version of Cena, the human being behind the character, and the traditional Cena that was seen on TV for over 2 decades. There were calls to see this version of Cena appear on TV, but sadly the next time he was back on television, the established heel character was back on full display. Number 3. Calling spots. John Cena calling spots isn't anything new. Cena has made a career out of calling spots in matches, and whilst calling spots is common in the majority of wrestling matches, Cena had a habit of screaming spots out loud for the entire world to hear. Cena's habit hasn't exactly gone away during his final run in wrestling, and most of his matches in 2025 have featured substantial spot calling. Matches against Cody Rhodes and Randy Orton were called out because of Cena breaking the illusion of pro wrestling, and unfortunately, this was just part of a way Cena performs and unlikely to ever change. In fact, it's one of the best ways in showing how he's ruined wrestling. Number 2. Not staying in character. For Cena's heel character to work, he needed to commit fully to kayfabe. Sadly, this hasn't occurred, as outside of WWE, Cena is still taking part in meet and greets. He's still the same old Cena. There's an element of inauthenticity when it comes to the fictional character. Perhaps this is why the character isn't fully connecting. Cena's appearances on shows with the WWE realm, such as Stephanie's Places, are all delivered out of character, and it made fans wonder what the point of the heel character is even supposed to be. Imagine a world where Cena turned heel and outright refused to engage with fans, and he kept the villainous persona going on in his personal life and wider media appearances. And naturally, it is a lot to ask in 2025 for a heel to stay in character 24/7. Yet when a heel turn is as significant as this, you would assume that WWE and Cena would take all the necessary steps to make it work. At number 1, ruin wrestling? The WWE champion would claim that he plans on ruining wrestling. Cena hasn't exactly explained on what this meant, but a lot of the diehard Cena fans are using this as justification whenever Cena has a dud of a segment or a match. A heel trying to ruin the pro wrestling industry could be an exciting concept, yet this has been such a badly executed idea and has quickly fallen apart. Cena's heel run is quite frankly boring and stale. Cena's feuds with Rhodes, Orton and R-Truth haven't exactly resulted in compelling television, and the blame falls on WWE creatively for missing such a major opportunity to create pro wrestling magic. There have already been calls from fans on social media for Cena to turn back into his babyface persona, and this is no doubt on the horizon sooner rather than later. This heel run could have been so easy to execute, as the sheer idea the man that carried WWE for 2 decades turning his back on everyone is fascinating, and it should be everything other than boring and dull. When WWE initially booked the turn to go down, they should have had a long-term plan on how to make it as exciting as possible. Whilst there is clearly some time left with Cena as a heel, it could be possible for WWE to turn things around. With that being said, the first few months of the run have been such a colossal failure that it may just be easier for everyone to revert Cena back to his babyface persona.